All right, round two. Cracking a beer. With me today, we got Ross Eliot, book writer, chicken owner, motorcycle guy, ex-fisherman.
Well,
You've done a lot of things.
I was on a boat as within the last year, so I might be a moderately current fisherman.
You're back on the boat, huh?
Well, no, but I'm not working, but I did help pilot a boat up from Seattle to Sitka last June.
How big is that boat?
I think it's about a 38-footer little Hoquiam fiberglass troller longliner.
How many people does it take to get that from point A to point B?
If point A is Seattle and point B is Sitka, we can do it like 8 days or so.
No. How many people?
Oh.
Could one do that by themselves, or do you need a crew?
It really depends. I mean, for much of the seasons that I work, we can just do it 2 people. But at the same time, if you end up getting some real heavy days where you're just catching like crazy, 3 people helps a lot.
With actual fishing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I've trolled with just 2 people, but I've never long lined with under 3. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
and how many people max would you want on a crew?
3 is the most you would really want. I mean, I think I've been out with like 4 a few times.
And you don't get in each other's way? 4 is okay?
Oh no, you totally get in their way.
So,
it's
so
a
3 is
small
the money
boat.
number.
If you're catching, yes.
Okay.
But not otherwise, because I mean, as soon as you got 3 people, you're splitting your profits a whole nother way.
Yeah.
So if you get out there and you think, we're gonna have some like crazy big days, we really need another hand here to make it worthwhile, but you're just not catching.
So if you're crushing, it's worth it. But if you're not,
precisely, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now,
so,
would it be more worth it if there's enough fish out there to really crush it, but you only have 2 people? So profit-wise, is it better to just have 2 people, or would that third person earn their keep on the boat? Does that make sense?
It's problematic because if you just end up killing yourself if there's just 2 of you and you're just totally in them deep, and it's heartbreaking to be in those kind of situations.
Yeah.
Where you're and this kind of gets into like my fishery. Oh, can I crack my beer
Crack
right
it.
now?
Crack
All
it.
right,
Let's talk about this beer. While you're cracking that, let's talk about it.
Yes, it is hoppy.
It is Alphadelic IPA.
I've had it before. It's a yummy.
Have you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good. I seen it and I grabbed it. It's from Hop Valley Brewing Company. It's weird. It seems like there's these companies, and there's a lot of them popping up, and which is cool. But they're all making like 7 types of IPAs. Like no one's making other type. Last week we had on a Kolsch, I believe, which was really nice. It was German style Pilsner.
Zwickelhaus. Yeah.
Yes, Zwickelhaus, which was real yummy. It was a bit lawnmower beery. But this is anyway. So this 7.2. This is 7.2.
Yeah. It's hard to be too hoppy for my taste. I am part of the problem.
Well, I hate IPAs.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm part of that problem.
Let's see, it's 90 IBUs. I hate IPAs, but you asked me when we were off air, why then did I drink this beer? It's because you wanted to. Part of the reason why I wanted to do this podcast is I want to try different kinds of beer that I wouldn't normally do it.
Yeah.
It's a reason to drink beer. No. Just having the podcast.
Oh, I totally get with that. I mean, like when I used to work in auto shops, I would make a commitment to myself that when I was working on vehicles and test driving them around and stuff, I would listen to whatever the radio was preset on.
Oh, that's interesting.
So most of the other folks that typically I'd be working with, they'd they'd get in a car and you might have to test drive a car around for like 20 minutes or something like that, so in addition to trying to figure out like where that weird noise is coming from, or they said that this strange thing happens like once you get to like whatever, like like once the motor heats up and you get to like such and such speed on the freeway, this thing happens, so you got to kind of like drive around a bunch. So Yeah,
you have to
like
expose
most
yourself to new stuff.
Well, yeah, and like most folks would be like, well, just put the radio on my favorite station and then just change it back. And I was like, no. I really want to like make this my cultural awareness mission. If it's if it's set on
Even
country,
if you don't like it,
even if I
go
don't
for
like
it.
it,
Yeah.
I got to listen to it.
Yeah.
Sometimes
and
it'd be
you're
like,
not doing it for large swaths of your life. You're 20 minutes here, 15 minutes there.
Per se.
So yeah, that's good. That's the same thing with this. Is I'm not going to be stocking my fridge with this beer, but I'll give it a try.
I got you.
All right, I'm going to read the back here. It is a true Northwest IPA.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know there was such thing as a true Northwest
I know,
IPA.
right? Death to the false
Yeah.
Northwest IPAs.
2 row in, let's see, yeah, Munich malts. What the fuck is this even saying? I'm having a hard time reading it. My eyes are bad. Medium bodied malt profile, while a combination of Northwest and Southern Hemisphere hops and a tropical citrus bouquet. I do taste the citrus in it. And that's kind of why I picked it up.
Yeah, it's a terrible font for that size.
Well, and trying to read anything on a silver can, everything's just, it's either too dark or it's glaring back at you.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the reason why I got this too, is because I saw on here, it said citrus on it, so it's like, all right, sure, we'll try it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we're expanding horizons.
But it's from Eugene.
Oh yeah, nice.
Seems like there's a few beers out of there now.
Oh yeah,
and down at even
I think Ninkasi, I believe, is Eugene also.
Yeah, there's got to be a few. And then you go further, you got Rogue River out at Newport. Yeah, Oregon's a spot for beer.
Yeah. Man.
Oh, okay. So anyway, let's talk briefly about this beer. What do you like? What do you like?
Oh God, I love how I am just overwhelmed by the hoppiness of it. Like I mean, I'm not joking. Like when I say like I am part of the hop juggernaut that like everyone hates right now. Yeah, I definitely have heard more and more unified voices of dismay at how ubiquitous the hops have become in beer lately.
I think there's a market out there that everyone can have that they want.
No, it's totally true.
There's so much out there. If you don't like it, that's fine. Don't drink it. There's plenty of other stuff.
That's right. If you don't like my hops, don't drink my hops.
Yeah. I like the citrus on the end of it. Normally for me, the problem with, and it's the hops, is that kind of bitterness. It's the same reason why I don't like coffee, even good coffee. I just don't like it, because no matter what you do, it's got that aftertaste of coffee.
Yeah, and I think, and this is kind of interesting, I think it may have something to do with my stunted sense of taste.
And I think I have an overwhelming sense of taste. I have a hard time mixing things because stuff gets overwhelming.
Yeah, I actually tested my sense of taste recently, and I can't speak authoritatively about this because I haven't really researched it much. But one of my coworkers got really obsessed with people's sense of taste and how it all breaks down in all these ways, and so she actually bought these test strips off the internet, which apparently can actually break people down into like groups of certain levels of taste sensitivity. And so they're just these little white strips, and you put them on your tongue. And if you're a super taster, which a very small minority of people are, I don't know the numbers, but like definitely in the minority, if you put that on your tongue, you'll just get this overwhelming sour taste, and you'll probably just snatch it out right away. It'll be too intense.
I don't think I'm a super taster,
and
but
most people,
I think I'm a little.
Yeah, and most people will put it on their tongue, and they'll just kind of get like they'll kind of search their eyes around a bit, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I'm getting a little bit of getting some flavor there." And then people like myself, which are, I think Amanda said it was like 25% of the population. I can't say for sure, but I think that's what she said. Actually, get no sensation at all. Like to me, it's like licking a sticky note or something. Like there's just nothing happens. And so yeah, like I just don't have this. Like I don't know if I just don't have the taste receptors, or I broke them years ago somehow. I'm not really sure.
Who knows? Yeah, I would love to try that though.
Yeah, I wish I'd brought those so we could test them. We'll do it some other time. My friend actually gave me a bunch of those, and I've got a few left.
Nice. Well, yeah, we'll have to do that. Wow. All right. So you used to be a not full time. I don't think there's a seasonal, but every year fisherman, right? Is it on that same boat, same size, or?
Yeah. My boat that I fish on is actually it's a fishing vessel charity. Belongs to my best friend Martin. We've been like friends since we're in the second grade thereabouts. I grew up in Ballard and Seattle, where like every other person comes from. Well, not anymore, but back in the day, every other person was a fisherman. It seemed like there.
I wonder if people know where Ballard is, because the only reason I know is because of work.
Yeah.
They even have a cousin who lived there, but to me, that's Seattle.
Yeah, well, I grew up there. Now it's a place where you can get a very expensive cocktail. And
it's blown
back.
It is pretty though. And
It's beautiful. Yeah, mm-hmm.
I do like a lot of the new buildings they put in there. I think it's cool that you can walk down the street and there's shops.
Mm. It's just so alien to me. I mean, I moved away in '98 when things were blowing up all over the rest of Seattle. And I was kind of starting to feel sort of priced out, even back then. So going back now, it just seems like a whole other city, more or less.
Yeah, it's kind of the same way with me and Camus, except for it's not so downtowny as Ballard's turning, but it's sprawling $500,000 houses where I grew up now, where it used to be, really cheap houses. No one wanted to live there. Everything was cheap. Now you can't afford to live there.
Yeah. So my family we're not fishing folks, but I always knew plenty of them. And so when I go out, I go out on my captain's boat. Who I've known forever. We grew up just like a block and a half apart.
Oh, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those are some of the best times of my life.
Every year still.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Does he do different seasons, or how does that work?
So we do trolling and longlining, and those break down in different kind of ways, and it sometimes fluctuates. So when you long line, you're going for bottom fish, and that's for us, that's mostly halibut, but also black cod. And the way it used to be was those were regulated by a time span, because the thing is, we really need to preserve the fisheries, because if you just let people run out there and catch all the fish they want, I mean, industrial fishing techniques are so...
Oh, they're gross.
They're some are more gross than others, but they're so effective that we could wipe the oceans clean of fish in like 3 years if we wanted to.
Yeah.
So, and that's essentially happened in the Atlantic. I mean, there used to be a huge thriving cod fishing industry in the Atlantic, and there were no regulations, and poof, it's gone. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
There are still some cod in the ocean, in the Atlantic, but not enough to sustain a commercial fishery. So we're trying to prevent that from happening in the Pacific, which is why it's pretty heavily regulated, and a good thing too. So what we used to have was derbies, and so people always talk about those, calling them the derby days. And so it would be you can go out on the ocean and you can catch all the halibut you want, but only between such and such a date. And it might be a week, it might be however long, just depending on like what the fishery can sustain, basically. The problem with that was people would go out there and they would work 24 hours a day. Yeah. Like they would just do tons of meth to stay awake. I mean, you'd have boats like crashing into each other, like you would have I've heard people talk about how like you would have people actually driving right past boats in distress. People are like, oh no, we're taking on water, and boats would just drive right on by because they only have that, like if that opener is just for like a week,
I just couldn't do that,
and you're looking over there and you realize somebody needs help and you're going to stop. I mean, you get sucked into helping somebody, you end up like having to tow them back to port. Like all of a sudden you might miss half a week, or a day or two of fishing, and that might be half of your income for a year.
Yeah.
So people would be forced into those kind of choices, and it was really dangerous. And so now it's done by pound. So my captain, and I'm kind of oversimplifying some of this because there's a lot more details, but basically it comes down to a certain number of pounds. So my captain has X number of pounds, and you can catch those basically anytime. So, if you want to go out in December when the water's really awful and catch some pounds, yeah, sure, why not? Except that the why not is that the weather's terrible. So generally people wait until like the spring. So April, May would be very typical times for people to long line for those pounds, just because the weather's nicer. But it's actually kind of a nice routine, because you're going out there, you're catching those pounds, and you can spend as much time as you want getting those pounds. Like there's not,
no rush, no hurry.
The only rush is getting them back to port to sell. Which you don't want to take too long, because we don't freeze those. So I'm on what's called an FAS boat, frozen at sea fishery. So we actually have a giant freezer in the hold of the boat. It goes down to like minus 38 degrees. But that's for salmon. For the halibut, we don't actually freeze them. We just throw them on ice. So we'll actually bring the boat up to a special dock, and they will just put a chute down, and they will dump like however many 1,000 pounds of ice down into the hold.
Yeah.
And so when we catch the halibut, for folks who don't know, they are gigantic, nasty, mean-tempered fish.
Well, you'd be mean-tempered too if you were just chilling on the bottom of the ocean and someone pulled you up.
Yeah, very, very true. Yeah, fish act very differently when you have them on the line. Like a halibut will fight you like crazy, and when you have like a fish that routinely gets over like 100 pounds, that's pretty heavy duty when you got to deal with that.
And the shape of it.
The shape
of it, because it's just wide and flat. So it's like
they're just a wide and flat shovel of pure muscle.
It's like you got something, a plate in the sink, and you go to lift it up, and I was like, well, this plate's not that heavy.
Yeah.
Just because of the surface area you're trying to bring up. I would think that flounder would be very similar.
Yeah. It's very, like, fish behave very differently. Like you'll have like a halibut that'll fight you in a certain way. And then you have like a salmon. Like a salmon will fight you in a very different way. Like salmon will fight you with a lot more finesse. But it's very frequent that you'll just get like a gigantic salmon on your line when you're trolling. And, this could be like, a great big 50-pound creature, and it comes up and it's just beautiful. And it just kind of comes up and it just gives you this look like, you got me. And you just bring it up alongside the boat, and it doesn't even fight you at all. And you knock it and you cut it, and it like doesn't even really put up like the same kind of fight that, say, like a lingcod would do. Like you get a lingcod, I mean, they're basically like pit bulls of the ocean. Like you get a hook in their mouth and they're just like shake. They're just fighting you every minute.
Delicious.
Like you're just they are delicious.
I used to fish on the river salmon, and it's amazing how the different types of salmon will fight differently. Like silvers and Chinooks are completely different the way they fight. A Chinook, very rarely will it breach if you're on the river. I don't
Interesting.
know.
Yeah, I don't know about river fishing. Yeah,
but silvers, now they will just jump left, right, all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's
weird.
because I don't know, Chinook or bigger. I have no idea. And then you get dogfish, which are salmon. They got a bunch of different names, but they're green and purple. You don't need them.
You mean the little sharks kind of looking ones, right?
Yeah, they look like a mutant Chinook.
Interesting. See, the thing is, there's tons of different names. So the ones that, like, God, some fish have different names on the ocean. They have different names in the rivers. The ones that we call dogfish are like these very small shark-looking creatures. They have a really nice. What's that?
Is it still a salmon?
No. There is dog salmon. Maybe. Yeah.
They look like mutant Chinooks. They got the big old hook nose. You just don't.
They wouldn't look like that when I catch them, because they really start changing. I think. If I'm thinking right, dog salmon are the ones that have like the big googly eyes before they do the change. That's the other part, is they look very different, like the ones like pinks, like
rock salmon, I guess it's also called.
I've never heard that. Yeah, there's so many different names, like
chum.
Yeah, chum. Oh no, chum are the ones that have the big googly eyes.
Yeah, so
they're chum.
Yeah,
I know chum. Yeah, chum have these gigantic big googly eyes.
Fun.
Yeah, they're basically a bait fish. People refer to them as.
I've
never eaten one.
I've never tried. I don't know. I just heard they taste gross.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned to my captain. Oh, should we have one of these for lunch? And he's like, no. They're awful. Yeah.
What we would do is we go up to this place called the Nacelle River, which is probably an hour away from the ocean, and that's the only place I've caught the chum. And you're fishing and you get a school of chum come through and you hook into them, and it's like, well, you're not going to eat them, but the fishing is fun.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. It's a good river because it actually, you can only fish half the time because it went in and out with the tides.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, like significantly.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So you'd fish on low tide and hopefully get into stuff, take lunch, breakfast, whatever it is on high tide. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you do much salmon? Is Pacific salmon big? Because I know they farm Atlantic salmon in the Pacific.
There are fish farms on the coast. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would think that is that more for your frozen fish, your fish sticks, whatever salmon you get that way, and then the Pacific is more for restaurants?
In general, yes. Although you will get farm salmon in restaurants also. Yeah.
Sure.
But wild salmon are definitely at a premium. Like nobody's gonna make fish sticks out of a wild Alaskan
or frozen
salmon. We do freeze them, yeah. Because we do FAS.
But I mean, factory frozen, go out, it's sealed. Here's some frozen salmon.
Less. I mean, it could be, but less likely. I mean, if anyone who's got a wild caught, salmon is going to be making a big deal about that and probably charging a bunch of money a supermarket or a restaurant based on that. It's not going to be fish sticks as likely. Or something probably other on that level.
Fish sticks,
that's
but you
for
can
sure.
get half a salmon.
Yeah,
but it's frozen at Safeway.
Yeah. Those they're hard to tell. And the interesting thing about the fisheries is there are fish counterfeiting essentially is a huge industry.
Okay.
And it's pretty bad in the United States even. I've read articles talking about fisheries scientists going into supermarkets and buying up a bunch of fish on the label and then testing them and finding out, oh, nope, this is totally not even the same fish.
Do they find the shit out of these companies or what?
If they can, but a lot of times it's not you find that in the supermarket, and the supermarket doesn't know. And so then it's well, it's not really their fault because they.
No, I would assume whoever's on the label.
It's whoever so you have to kind of trace where they came from.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of money to be made saying, this farm fish is actually a wild caught. I mean, there's just a huge market for something like that, there's just a lot of people can't necessarily tell from the taste, which and it has a lot more to do with
hilarious because at that point just say, well, this fish tastes good too, and then sell it.
Yeah, it has a lot more to do.
It's kind of like imitation crab.
It has a lot more to do with the sustainability of it and with a lot of the hormones that the farm fish get. I mean, they're not even pink. That's one of the weird things about it is salmon are pink because they eat krill, and farm fish are pink because they eat dye. So, although gross. Interestingly enough, there are a lot of albino salmon, which even though they're out there, kings, only kings. I've never caught an albino silver.
Chinook, right?
Yeah, kings are also called Chinooks. Yeah.
Are they only called Chinooks here?
We call them that in Alaska.
Okay.
Yeah, but usually we call them kings. I mean, there's the terms are so interchangeable. I mean, fish will have 7 different names, and we'll just kind of go back and forth. But I mean, they might have a native name, and then they'll have an ocean name, and then a river name, and then some kind of slang term that grandma used. It's kind of absurd, and you just have to kind of keep track of all of them. It's pretty nuts. But yeah, there are a very significant minority of kings that are actually totally white on the inside, and you can't tell until you actually clean them. Yeah, only on the inside. On the outside, from the exterior, you cannot even tell. But as soon as you open up to clean them, they are just white. And of course, they're out there eating the same krill that everyone else is, but for some reason, they just don't show it. In fact, the unfortunate kind of thing for us is that we can't really sell them because people are so used to seeing a pink salmon that even though this white salmon
I guess that's
looks the
then.
same, like nobody, we typically, those would be the ones that we eat or that we'll just bring home as like our personal fish. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because you know what it was.
Oh, precisely. Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it. Did you hear about recently, I think it was in the Sound, this company got in trouble because there were some floods or something. There was high water, really high water. Anyway, a bunch of Atlantic salmon got loose in the Sound.
Exactly. Yeah. So the Atlantic salmon were basically all fished out. Like if you ever eat an Atlantic salmon, that's essentially a synonym for farm fish.
Yeah.
And a lot of times places will kind of try to pass that off like it's not. If you actually get down to it, like any Atlantic salmon is a farm fish.
Yeah, they just fish it out over there, huh?
There is no viable fishery for Atlantic salmon in the Atlantic Ocean.
They farm them over there too, though, right?
Oh yeah, well, right. There's no viable wild fishery of Atlantic salmon. Yeah, they're basically extinct in the wild.
Have they not tried to re-release them?
I'm sure somebody has.
No one.
I'm sure somebody has.
No one wants to give up their stock.
But they just somebody could probably provide a better answer, but for whatever reason they just haven't been able to reestablish themselves, and I don't know what it would take to reestablish Atlantic salmon, but they just don't. I think really it just comes down to the rivers. The East Coast rivers are just not suitable for salmon spawning. So even if you took a bunch of Atlantic salmon and you released them in the ocean, or I guess in some river, they're just not gonna stick in the same way that they do in the Northwest or the West Coast. Period.
Yeah. They've early industrial revolution fucked it up.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. We listen to a lot of books on tape out on the water, and one of the books that we listened to a few years ago, it's called Cod, and it's all about how the Atlantic Ocean got fished out, basically. And it was just kind of ridiculous that we're out here and we're on the back of the boat and we're just pulling lines, thump, cut, thump, cut, thump, cut. We're literally getting sprayed with fish blood while we're hearing over the deck speakers, da 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 da, and then this was how the salmon industry on the West Coast was totally brought to its knees by its own overfishing. And we're just like, Jesus Christ,
which
what are
is
we
why
doing?
these conservation periods are important. Recently here in the Columbia, they stopped all sturgeon fishing.
Sure. Yeah.
So white sturgeon, and I grew up. My uncles, my grandpa would catch them all the time, and I believe when they were fishing heavily, it could be between 3 feet and 6 feet. If it was over 6 feet, you couldn't keep it. And oh my God, it's the best meat. This is the best fish maybe in the world.
I don't know that I've ever had sturgeon personally.
It's wonderful. It tastes very similar to halibut.
Okay, I love halibut. We never ate halibut though. It's such a big money fish. We don't even keep personal halibut. We just. I think my captain might keep a few, but I don't.
Yummy.
Yeah.
But I think recently they opened it up for a week. That's how bad it is. I
crazy.
think. They're giant fish. They grow so slow. They're very similar to sharks and stingrays, where the only bone they have in their body is their skull.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So they're a cartilage fish. And it's really funny. It's if you see a white sturgeon, it kind of looks like, it almost in some ways looks like a shark with a stingray's mouth, that's sucker
crazy
mouth.
Yeah, I don't even really know what they look like. Yeah.
Oh, have you been up to the fish hatchery up at Bonneville? They got a 13-footer there, 11-footer. Anyway, a big old one.
Damn.
So it used to be they had these wide, long but shallow, probably 3 feet, pools up there, and they have got a bunch of sturgeon up there.
Oh, cool.
And they had a 13-footer.
Damn, that's nuts.
And someone hopped in there and cut out its heart.
Oh no.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely ridiculous.
I don't think I'd even want to be in a pool with a 13-foot fish.
It's a sturgeon. It's not going to do anything to you.
Okay.
So after that, they built this giant habitat, which is, way deep, and there's a couple of big ones in there. Their marquee fish is called Herman the sturgeon. And you go there, and they got on one of the walls, it's glass, so you can see under the water into the pond.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I've seen stuff. I know I've been to Bonneville, so I may have seen it.
On the Oregon side, there's a fish hatchery.
Yeah.
That right before you get to the dam, it's a little turnoff, and it's got a bunch of stuff. It's got trout ponds where you can feed them.
Oh, cool.
It's got that sturgeon thing. It's where the during salmon season, you can see them catching and milking and doing the whole hatchery thing.
Gotcha.
Like you can see you can be in an observation room and see it.
Oh, nuts! Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
you should get up there this summer. It's
nice.
really cool.
That's really awesome. Yeah. I mean, I definitely grew up going to the locks in Seattle where you can see like the salmon going upstream and everything.
Yeah. We on the Washington side, they got the visitor center at the dam, and you can watch the fish ladders. Those are really cool too.
Oh,
especially during salmon season and shad season.
Interesting.
Shad. That's an interesting fish.
I don't know a damn thing about shad.
So it's a bait fish. Apparently, some cultures, people here who are Asian descent, or just Asian, maybe they just moved here, they'll take them and they'll make stews out of them. A lot of people don't eat them because they're too bony, kind of like a bluegill. Bluegill is actually good meat.
I don't know
too bony
about a bluegill.
Oh, it's a lake fish here.
Oh, okay.
But shad, what people will catch them for is they'll take them, they'll chop them up and use them for bait for the sturgeon.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I mean, during shad season, you will see sturgeon 8 foot, 9 foot breach because they're coming up to get them. They love them so much that they leave the bottom.
Oh, wow.
Because sturgeon are bottom feeders.
Okay.
To come eat the shad.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. But they run really thick, so, the ladders there are cool because you can see a lot of stuff.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I'll certainly see whales feed like that. So.
Yeah, shad's just a basic bitch fish.
That is a pretty basic fish, yeah.
Yeah, you just kind of toss out a jig and you reel it in and they'll eat it. What was the one time I went shad fishing with my cousin, and we were right below the dam. And a bunch of people, you cast upstream, pretty strong current, goes downstream. Try not to cross lines. You get your shad. You're using like 6-8 pound test, but on like a salmon pole. So people will get them and they'll get like a burlap sack and they'll keep them in the water so they don't stink up, go bad.
Yeah, sure.
And they put it in like really shallow water. I mean, you see these 8-foot sturgeon come up and try to get up on the land to get them because they can smell them.
Oh, weird.
Oh, yeah. You see these big fucking sturgeon trying to get at people's catches.
That's nuts.
It's
trying to help their friends out. Yeah.
Trying to eat them.
Oh, I see.
Because they smell it's dessert to them.
I gotcha. Yeah.
It's kind of like what you were saying when you were fishing and you get salmon, whatever, on the line, and orca or whatever will come.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No. Well, you'll definitely have lingcod try to come up and grab some of your catch, or
how big are
otter?
lingcod?
Well, not so much otters, but because we're too far out on the water. But seals definitely. Sperm whales will also take like black cod. That's pretty nuts. What were you saying?
How big is a lingcod?
Lingcod can get I don't know, like fish. 3 feet long. Sometimes maybe a little bit longer.
What a ugly fucking monster.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they're basically a giant mouth and nothing but muscle like behind it. Yeah, they are like I have so many times.
It's like a bitch grouper.
So many times I have thought they were going to just pull my arm out of the socket because they fight so hard, like the big ones. Yeah. So actually. So that one right there, you're showing me a picture. That one's probably a 4-footer.
That's a monster.
Yeah. They get relatively big. Yeah. Like I actually keep, when I'm on the stern of the boat running lines, like I will actually keep like a piece of rubber back there. So typically when I'm fishing, I just got like regular like elbow length rubber gloves on.
Okay.
To protect my hands. But when I get one of those on the line there, or also if I get like a small shark or something like pretty heavy, I grab that rubber and I just like wrap it around my hand, because as soon as I start pulling that line in, once I take the snap off the when I take the leader off of the cable that it's on, all of a sudden all that weight is going to be right on my arm, and you can seriously like get a nasty cut from the line when you get something that heavy on. So I'll use that to kind of get it close enough to get it unhooked with my gaff, but because the thing is we don't want to like just cut the line and leave the fish in there. Oh right. Jesus Christ!
That's a white sturgeon.
Oh, that's nuts. Yeah. That's weird. So the thing that you want to do when you get something pretty heavy on the line is you don't want to lose your lure, you don't want to lose the hooks, you want to save all that. Plus you don't want the fish running around with a hook in its mouth. Like, you want to get it off so that it can go out and be a happy fish the rest of its life. So so you'll just kind of hand over hand as best you
I don't believe that there is such a thing as a happy lingcod. I think it's naturally
I think they're angry
grumpy
most of the time. It's probably true. But yeah, so you'll get them up close as you can, and they're fighting you like crazy. And then you just unhook it, and then it just goes right back down.
Yeah, with these white sturgeon, they were saying, and I think there's a bit of hyperbole to it, but when they were building the dam, they said there were some sturgeon down there that are so big that you can fit a man in its mouth.
Jesus.
I don't necessarily believe that's true. But I believe there's some monsters down there. Like this one, for example, it says 20-footer. That's probably 15-foot sturgeon, but that's a big fish.
You know, whether it's 15 or 20, that is a large fish. Well, back in, and I'm talking like thousands of years ago, there were salmon that were that big.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Thousands or tens of
thousands? Thousands of years ago. Probably a couple tens of thousands of years ago. So, old, but not like ancient for sure.
Yeah.
Like there's been, and because of where their remains have been found,
right?
It seems like they went upstream, like just like salmon do today, except that they were just like completely enormous compared.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know that I've ever really caught anything bigger than like 50, 60 pounds. That would be very large salmon.
I have hooked into a 64-pounder.
Crazy.
That I was watching somebody else's pull, and they pulled it in.
Nice.
45 minutes from shore. And then I pulled in myself when I was probably 12, 13, a 58-pounder.
Sure. Yeah, that's about as big as they get nowadays.
This fish was so big that I was holding it up. I was 12 years old kid, holding it up head high, and its tail was still on the ground.
Yeah.
It was a 5-foot fish.
Yep, they're beautiful creatures.
Ugh. What a monster.
Yeah. No, I feel bad every time I have to kill something that amazing.
I don't. It was about to die. If it's a salmon going upriver, it's gonna die.
That's true. I just feel bad. Cutting it short before it gets a chance to spawn. They're just such beautiful creatures.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't care about fish.
No.
I care enough that we should conserve them, and I think that if we just stopped commercial fishing for 5 years and people can fucking chill out for 5 years, I think they'd benefit.
They would certainly benefit. It's true. For the moment, at least, we can get by just regulating it on a case by case basis, because that's how it works.
We can get by. I would love to see a reef flourish and just and the oceans go nuts.
Yeah, totally.
If we just stop everything in the ocean, 10 years. Blame-o. But you can open up at that. If you do that, you take out commercial fishing for 10 years, you can open up personal fishing.
Yeah, the only reason like that wouldn't be practicable is just because it would just eliminate the livelihood. So
economically you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
No, there's no way.
Yeah. The way that, it's interesting how kind of old school the regulation of salmon is. So with like the halibut, like I'm talking about like the pounds that you get, halibut don't travel as much. They do to a certain extent, but in general, they just kind of hang out at home. And so what you can do is you can actually send down like divers, you can do test fishing, you can just figure out where the halibut like to live, and you can just go check them out, and get a pretty good idea for how the halibut stocks are doing. But the salmon, of course, they're just traveling everywhere in the ocean. Like you have no idea how good of a season the salmon are going to be until they all start coming home.
Yeah, you don't know till afterwards. That's what there's people who are in the fish lighters just counting them.
Exactly. So you will totally have just like people paid by the Forest Service or the fisheries just sitting up on streams up in Alaska and Washington and Oregon, just standing on the riverside, like as they go by, just tick tick tick, just keeping count, and then radioing in the numbers that they're getting. And then it all getting kind of amalgamated together, and then that forms some kind of algorithm. And that's why we have first and second kings. So we'll have, so based on the numbers, so early July is the king salmon opener.
Yeah.
And they will try to have us catch 75%, say, of what they think the full salmon run is going to be. So that's kind of what the idea is. So they got people counting, they got people catching. Well, we're out catching. And then when they get to that, like, whatever it is, 75, 80%, that's when they put out the call saying, all right, tomorrow, as of like, whatever, they'll say tomorrow at like 12 midnight, no more fishing for king salmon. And at that point, everybody just does that next day, and then they pull their lines and they come back in and unload. Yeah. And so then they keep counting over the next several months while we're catching other stuff, silvers, typically.
Personally, I think silvers are better meat anyway.
You are not alone in thinking that, I really like silver, and I do not, like as I was observing earlier, I have a very underserving palate. Yeah. And so I can't honestly even tell the difference. A lot of people say, oh yeah, king salmon, they're way better. There are a lot of fishermen who are like, yeah, silvers are just as good or better.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a lighter flavor.
Yeah, I don't know, but they're pretty yummy. Yeah. But yeah, so basically the idea is they try to get it to that point where when we do second kings, so say like if first kings was like, I don't know, 2.5 weeks, then second kings later on in the summer, August or thereabouts, maybe that'll be like 5 days or 6 days, or if not as many come in during the rest of the summer that they thought, they might just have us like do a 2 or 3 day season. But yeah, typically they just kind of adjust that based on what happens.
Yeah. I know on the riverbank there are 2 seasons for salmon. There is springers, mm-hmm. and then late summer, fall. No, maybe it's fall, because I think you get it into October. Yeah, I think it's when the waters are higher. Yeah, they avoid summer because the rivers are lower. It's harder to get through. But they don't want to go up in the winter because it's too... I don't know. I don't think like a salmon. I don't know. The Chinook have spring and fall. Is that is that all the same fish, and then they just decide to go willy-nilly, do you know, or is it like the 2 different runs? If I spawned in a spring, then I'm going to go back up in the spring.
I really don't know. I'm not sure.
Is at that point, are they like almost different species?
Yeah.
I bet you they just go willy-nilly.
I suspect not different species. I would imagine.
Well, they could diverge. It could be the start of a divergence. Is kind of what I meant.
Could very well be.
Because at that point, it's different gene pools. However, I got a feeling that whoever's leading the school just willy-nilly gets a whiff of, all right, it's starting to raise or lower. Well,
it's interesting to see how they make those decisions too, because you'll and so we're not allowed to fish close to shore. We have to be like at least 2 miles out, and but if you just happen to be passing by, like say at a river mouth, you can look down and you can just see the fish doing these giant circles. Like even like nearby to Sitka, like you can just see humpies just like circle, and I mean, there'll be thousands of fish just doing these giant circles kind of near the entrance to like streams, and they'll just do it around and around and around and around, and then finally somebody gives the signal, and bam, they just go right up.
So they do that in rivers as well. There's a spot in Camas where there's a bridge over it, and so they're kind of held up by rapids, right? That's one hole to the next hole to the next hole, rapids in between. But when do they go from one spot to the other? I don't know. But I've been up there, and they just circle.
Yeah.
They circle.
I'm
sometimes
guessing,
sometimes they hold a pattern, but a lot of times they're just circling.
Yeah, I would imagine the theory behind that is they want to reach like a critical mass, because of course they know that as soon as they get up into the river, they're easy prey. Like bears and bobcats and eagles that ordinarily, wouldn't have as easy time of getting at them are just going to be able to like wade into the stream and just grab them. So as soon as they have like the kind of numbers where they can just go on masse and just
so you think
saturate
at
the stream
river at the mouth of the river, they're waiting to get enough to go up.
Yeah, because if just one salmon goes up that stream, man, they're eagle food immediately.
Sure.
Like, but if they go up like with thousands,
but they do break up.
The eagle can
holes.
only grab one at a time.
They do
and
break
the bear
up
can only
in each hole though. There's only they do kind of break up as they go, but still you're still flooding. I think the river as a whole.
Yeah, exactly. You just want to make it so that as soon as the bear grabs one and is busy eating that one fish, 100 more can go by, like that's, I think, what they are trying to do.
Sure. Yeah. That's a typical herd mentality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Fucking zebras in the savannah. One might drop, but most of them get away.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, the runs are nothing compared to what they used to be. My dad was saying when he was younger, so it would be in the 60s on the Little Washougal, which is maybe not quite up to your knees at my grandma's house. They used to just stand in the river and grab and throw, Whichever fish didn't flop back into the river, they kept. They were so thick.
Yeah,
they could just grab and throw.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. And you will occasionally get ones that big. Like I think it was 2 years ago, we had a salmon season that I forget the year, but people said it was the best year since like the 50s.
Nice.
But of course,
we need more of those.
But of course, back then, that would have been like maybe a typical season, or like just a typical good season, and at this point, it was kind of atypically amazing.
I get a big problem, and it might be just rhetoric from the riverbank, but from the fish netters, the people who would put nets down. I just don't like it. Yeah.
In general, I'm against nets. Like, I'm just knee-jerk against them, except for gill netting. Gill netting, I have to say, is not an awful way to do it. If you're going to be a net fisher...
What's gill netting? How's that different from...
So the reason gill netting is different is because... So there's a lot of things you can do with the net. Like, you can take the net and you can just, like, drag it through the water. Like, or you can... or you can just like let them like for instance drift nets. Like drift nets are like basically the worst thing you can do. Like those ones are just like these huge envelopes. They let them drift and they just drift around in the ocean and fish swim into them and they just like suck up fish like a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
And then the idea is that then you come back later and you pick it up. But what happens a lot of times, and this is all like super industrial fishing, like something way above the level of anything like the boats in my fishery do. But but then they come back and they find it. However, what will frequently happen is that like the transponder that they need to find it with breaks. And then they can't find it, and it's just out in the ocean catching and catching and catching,
Ugh.
And it just like vacuums like thousands and thousands of fish out of the water,
gross. And
then they just die, and just finally turn to skeletons fish, just in these nets.
Dolphins, everything.
There's everything. And then anything to like, purse seining, where you're just creating a big envelope and you're sucking it out. Purse seining, God, it's better, but it's not a lot better.
So what's gill netting?
So gill netting is where you're basically just taking like a section of net, like a strip, and it could be like 6 feet high and 100 yards long, and you just lay it out behind the boat, and it's just out in the water, just kind of like a big picket fence, just floating. And what you can do is you put weights at different points, and if you put a really heavy weight on it, that'll kind of drag it down, and that'll make a more tight mesh. So you're catching a smaller fish at that point. And then if you're and so you can control by like what kind of weight, how big of a fish you want. So if you're like kingfishing,
I still hate it.
Well, right. Well, here's the reason to hate it less. They don't just leave them out there. They put them out there, and then they yank them in. And so they yank it in on like a drum, and as they yank them in, they can take the fish out. And if they caught like bycatch they don't want, they throw them back.
Yeah, no, they're less horrible.
So
than the other
it's less horrible, but it's still net fishery. I only do hook and line fishing. Whether it's trolling or long lining, I only handle hooks. Yeah.
The only net fishing I'm okay with is there are people who are fishermen who are in fishing communities that have been, usually find them in the Pacific, Asia area, where they toss it out, drag it in, look what we got.
Oh,
Here
yeah,
you go.
yeah.
Well, I don't know what that's called, but it's actually kind of pretty when they throw it. But you know what I'm talking about.
I do, yeah.
Okay, I can deal with that. That's about it.
Yeah, that's a pretty long. Yeah, something like that is a pretty small scale.
Because it's immediate too.
And yeah, precisely. Yeah. No, I totally get that. Yeah.
I don't know. Should we? We've gone on about fish for so long. Let's talk about a completely different other non-mammal animal. Chickens.
Oh yeah, chickens. Oh right. I was just starting to talk about issues with possums before we got on air here. Yeah, I do have 9 hens currently. Although listeners from the city of Portland may wish to know that I only have 9. I mean, I only have 3.
You only have 3.
I only have 3,
not 9.
Yes, because I prefer to follow the law and
is that the law?
All regulations. 3 hens without a special permit.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yes. Which are easy to get. It's not like it's hard. Yeah. It would not be a hardship to get a permit.
Where I work, we're butted up against a rural area, and right behind us there is a place that has chickens. So every day,
listen, number 2's happening here. There we go. IPA.
Every day, every morning.
Aw, that's adorable.
Fucking, I love chickens.
I know. I love them so much.
I love that sound. I don't need roosters in my life.
No. I'm not. I can't get away with that for sure.
Yeah. I grew up in a farmish area. Well, I grew up on several farms. We had cows and chickens, but at my grandparents' house, they would have kind of rampant chickens.
Rampant.
Yeah, and they would have roosters there because they would just kind of replenish their own stocks.
Gotcha.
And what they would do every so often is just go cull all the roosters as they grew up.
Right.
It was I was never there for it. I was probably too young, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they ate them or.
They probably stewed them, I would imagine.
I don't know. I don't remember ever eating chicken there.
Oh, weird.
They might have been just gross about it. They're just like, we got to get rid of these chickens.
Interesting. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it.
Yeah. I have never eaten any of my girls. I think.
Why would you?
I would if I was raising them exclusively for that purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, when I got my chicks, because I got 10 chicks a few months ago.
And you kept 3. That's weird. Okay, go ahead.
I know it's weird, but yeah. And they had layers, and then they had meat chickens, and I just got the layers. But I feel like at some point I should do my carnivorous, or I suppose more my omnivorous duty, and actually raise some hens for slaughter. I feel like it's something I should take part in. I mean, I certainly do that with fishing, where I'm also part of the whole
for me,
cycle.
When I was on the farm, I was okay with doing that for cows because that was their whole purpose. But with the chickens, they were, I don't know, they're just more like pets. They're tiny lookers. Although they are fucking dinosaurs and will eat anything.
They are. And that's precisely one of the reasons why. All right, there you go. So for me, of course, the The hens are good for eggs.
Eggs. And they're cute.
And they are adorable, and they just eat up garden pests, so they're out there like taking care of slugs and mosquitoes and any number of things. So
do you keep rocks or like pieces of wood around so you can walk around and lift them up for them?
I don't keep them around, but they just are around because I'm on a pretty big.
You don't get rid of them.
I don't really consciously take care of that. I mean, there's just so much. I'm on.
So I feel like I would put a couple out there because bugs, they go over those things.
I'm on a double lot. There's just a whole bunch of stuff in their area that I could lift up at any point and find them some treats. Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed, but when chickens are out there eating, animals, bugs, mice, whatever, the eggs taste better.
Oh, absolutely.
More rich.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you look at my eggs compared to something from the store.
Well, that's not even...
of course. Yeah. It's a huge difference.
That's not fair.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, like, even when my hens stop laying, I feel like they've earned their retirement, number one. And,
at
also...
that point, is the meat any good? I don't know about old chicken meat.
They would be stewers. You probably don't want to
Pass.
just
go ahead and get old.
Yeah. For me, that just makes sense at that point. They've put in a lot of work. They've laid me a lot of eggs, and they're still out there eating up the mosquitoes. So, that's fine with me.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I just don't want to eat them, but I'd like to eat chicken. So I don't approve of factory farming. So I'm a walking contradiction.
Yeah, no,
I'm walking hypocrisy.
Oh yeah, me too. I mean, I love my ladies, and then I'm also eating probably more of the factory stuff on my own here.
Yeah, I try not to. I don't like factory stuff, but I can't not. I don't have the resources to grow my own.
Yep, no, I totally get you.
I would love to. When I was growing up, like I said, we had cows, and so we would always have 3 cows.
Okay.
3, 4, 2, somewhere. So you would have the female cow,
right?
That you would try to impregnate once a year. Then you would have the baby she's growing, the baby that's been a little older, and then the one that's about to slaughter. I want to say 3 years is full grown. You slaughter him, and then that slaughter is a year's worth of food.
Wow!
We had 3 people in the family. It was a year's worth of meat.
Crazy, yeah.
Nuts. It was way more ethical than factory farming, but like not quite as much as if we went out and hunted. That's probably more ethical. But on the other hand, I mean, so we had these cows, and they were nice, and they were pets, and they were raised well, and they had a good life.
Yeah.
Never had pigs. I don't know. Pigs are a weird thing for me because I tried quitting pork for a while because
I love pork so much.
It's tough for me because they're like one of those things. It's like I don't need an octopus. It's too smart.
God,
I don't want
anything with tentacles. God,
they don't have any tentacles.
Octopi don't have tentacles.
No, they have arms, and some classify as legs. 6 arms, 2 legs.
I gotcha.
Tentacles. Anyway,
anything with tentacle-like appendages. How about that?
Sure. I would definitely call it tentacle-like.
Yes.
There's some different classification for why it's an arm and not a tentacle. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it's because it's muscle and not a fluid.
I gotcha. Cephalopods. I love to eat cephalopods.
I can't do it. They're too smart.
Yeah.
I heard this recently on I think probably a podcast, but there's a scientist out there who is trying to toss out that maybe octopus didn't come from Earth, and I've been saying that as a joke for years because they're just. But his basis is on a cellular level they do shit that nothing else can. They can fuck around with their RNA. Also physical characteristics that nothing else, like how they can do their skin. They're just so different from anything else on Earth.
And it's not that controversial of an opinion because I have heard. I mean, there's not just one scientist that's speculated about that. There's been quite a few that I've read articles over the year talking about that. Like the reasons you're saying. It's interesting that even long time ago, when people have like written about the idea of alien creatures different from us, like one of the knee-jerk kind of descriptions people use is, aliens have tentacles, well, that's weird. Why would we think to say that,
Fucking
like,
gross.
but for whatever reason, like we seem to have this kind of like really deep association with tentacles as being something very different and sinister.
So, like, let's say
than
some
us,
cephalopod eggs came here from a different planet very early on.
Yeah, and that's the idea. I mean, most mainstream science would say, well, life didn't really.
Well, they say that about
originate on Earth, but that life came from like asteroids and different kind of things. And like, well, why did it have to be just one asteroid?
Maybe
Like
Mars.
maybe there was one asteroid, and then maybe a few billion years later there was another asteroid, and that one had the cephalopod stuff. I was not. No.
Yeah.
Roll call was taken. I didn't raise my hand. Yeah.
Could very well have been, and it could have come from multiple sources. But, maybe that's why like squids are like the lemurs of octopus. They're kind of the same, but they're dumb.
Interesting.
They're not smart. They're dumb.
Okay, I gotcha.
They just kind of do a thing, but they look vaguely similar.
Sure, yeah.
So lemurs have arms and legs like us, and eyeballs and a face.
Yeah.
Well, octopus and squid.
Never trust a lemur.
No?
It's my watchword.
Okay.
They just don't quite have it.
Well, what if they want to give you some coffee? Shit you out some
It's
coffee.
probably decaf.
Shit you out some coffee.
They're probably, they'll give you coffee, but it's not going to keep you awake.
They process those beans for you. I really think, again, this is so stupid, but once humans are gone, eventually it's going to be octopus. They're going to find out a way to live longer. Because the problem with octopus now is they only live, like, let's say you're a red Pacific, which is, the best octopus.
Okay.
Easily. Because it's right over here. They only live like 6, 7, 8 years.
That's not long enough.
It's not. And then I was talking about this recently with a buddy, and he's like, yeah, we'll find out a way to make them live longer. And I'm like, no. Why would you do that? They're going to take us over.
Yeah, totally true. Yeah.
If an octopus could live to be 80 years old, humans are no more. That's it. We're done. Yeah. Forget Skynet.
Yeah. Octanet.
No. Have you seen the movie the Europa Report?
Why does that sound familiar?
They go to Europa, which is a moon of Jupiter.
Oh! Is that kind of one of the Alien prequels?
No.
What am I thinking of? I don't know what I'm thinking of.
I forgot the name.
Oh no, Prometheus.
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 Yes.
I don't.
Which was also pretty cool. A lot of people hated it, and I don't know why. I enjoyed it.
Not enough chests exploding,
I guess. But Europa Report, go check it out. Where they go to this ice planet, not planet, moon.
Sure.
And then, just watch it. There's some stuff that happens. I can't say anything without spoilers.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyone out there who is listening and knows what I'm talking about knows what I'm talking about.
Gotcha.
How did we get from chickens to alien fucking octopus?
I don't know. Well, because we were talking about like other animals that you might have, and you were talking about pigs, and I was actually going to say something about like goats.
Pigs.
Like I'd love to have goats someday. But
so pigs. I tried to quit pork for a while, and I felt like it really affected my health. I noticed a difference in the month. I quit it for a month and a half, and I noticed a difference. So I had to start eating pig again, and it's kind of a bummer. I don't want to ethically, because I think they're too smart to be farmed. On the other hand, I feel bad if I, like, physically I'd feel not up to par if I don't.
So wait, you felt better not eating pork? Or
no, the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would probably go into a depression if I wasn't eating pork, because I love pigs so much.
Well, it wasn't the flavor. I actually felt bad, because I can find other stuff that's yummy. I mean, pig is fucking delicious. I've eaten so many ribs over the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, I made
barbecue season.
I made a bacon sandwich last night.
Oh, God, bacon. That was my way back in. I had to fucking start eating bacon again. Bacon is something that when I get it, I'll get the thick cut, and I'll get a whole package. I'll cook the whole package, and I'll eat a bit there, but I'll stick it in the fridge and just use it as a snack, as a treat.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, candy's good, but bacon is bacon.
It's true.
And for some reason, I don't mind eating things cold. But yeah, you want goats?
Well,
Do you have a... No, I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt you even before you start. Because I've been to your house, and I know there's a lot of bushes. Do you have any fence or anything on the property line?
That's the problem. I mean, I have the kind of fencing that can keep chickens where they ought to be, but if I was gonna goat-proof my yard, oh man,
not goat-proof, but do you know the lines though?
I know the lines.
So you could
if I
potentially figure it out.
If I wanted to go to great expense and effort, yes, I could have goats, but oh my god, it would be just such a pain.
Goats can be on leashes. You can put a spike.
Yeah, but they can't live on leashes.
No, but if you needed a place that, because you got a lot of brush.
Yes,
that's just what I was thinking.
Oh, I got you. Temporary goats.
The clearing.
Yeah. If I had like brief goats, like for not a ton of time, that would be more or less practicable. But
you can get one of the smaller breeds that doesn't need as much space.
Oh god, it's true. But the problem is they're such good climbers and jumpers. Like, I have like 4 foot. I've got like 4 foot fence around most of my yard. Like on 3 sides, it's only 4 feet. Even like a dwarf goat, man, they're just gonna hop right over that.
I was thinking you got the leash that you can move around, but you can also have a pin, a decent size pin.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah,
you know what I mean, like a pin where they're not cooped up, but you can also get out and get into other spaces. I personally think goats are asshole pieces of shit, and I would never want one. Now, sheep, on the other hand, maybe.
Interesting. I don't know much about sheep.
They eat just as well, but they're less assholes.
Yeah, and then there's the wool. I mean, the wool's cool.
It's not as cool as you think.
Not for. Not for me. But I know people that knit and that.
But you got to process it.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't. I wouldn't process it.
Good luck.
No. I know friends that are into that kind of thing, and I would say, okay, I got some sheep. Bring your shears on over. You do the work. I'm not into it.
Yeah, you definitely want to get the electric industrial shears. It's just so much easier and less stress on the animal. So they used to do it with hand shears.
I'm sure that would be a huge headache, yeah.
Yeah, well, and also the animal has to stand there for so long. And, animals, they're impatient.
Yes.
With the buzzers, you could be done in 5 minutes and the sheep doesn't get bored.
I do not want to board sheep.
Well, because they want to move, and then you're saying stay here, and then they're pissy. Yeah, sheep shearing they got it down to a science, and sheep are I think they feel better afterwards. I know that every time
they probably do.
My grandma had a sheep, and man, it would get gnarly by the end of winter.
Oh yeah. Like every now and then, I'll see like a picture on the internet of some sheep that someone found I don't know, out in the wilds that got out of a pen, and it's just. I mean, the things are just like a giant, nasty steel wool. Oh my god, those
collecting
things
everything.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah. Anything that they brush up against, they probably pick some of it up.
Yeah.
Blackberry bushes, get out of here.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's tough. But yeah, sheep. I would go with sheep personally, just because I have experience with them, and they're kinder. Especially if you get a female. The males can get they're rams.
Yeah, right. I gotcha.
You ever see that? There's a video of a cow, a bull, and a ram squaring up.
Okay.
And the ram knocks the cow out.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Well, so rams, they don't have the same. Their heads are built for it, right?
Right.
Whereas, cows, there's rams and one other mammal that you can't concuss them.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. Animals are weird.
Yeah, no, I gotcha.
You should get a goat.
Someday I think it'll happen. Yeah.
Oh, they're so loud and annoying though. So are sheep though.
Oh god.
All day long.
Yeah.
You ever had a cat that meowed too much?
I currently, yes.
Okay, that's all goats and sheep.
Oh god. I totally have to pee.
Do you go for it?
Yeah. All right.
You want to shut it down? We did over an hour.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead and plug your stuff, and then we'll shut it down.
Oh, my stuff.
Your book, your
whatever. My book is currently a deleted title right now. It's not even pluggable.
But you can't find it anywhere.
No, you can find
What's
it on,
the name of it?
You can find it on eBay.
What's the name of it?
Oh, it's called Babette: The Many Lives, 2 Deaths, and Double Kidnapping of Dr. Ellsworth.
Okay. And just before we go, what kind of bike do you have?
Oh, 95 Shadow ACE 1100.
Nice. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. Again, we're drinking Hop Valley Alphadelic IPA. It's all right. I think it's good for people who really like IPAs. For me, who is a average beer drinker, I really like German stuff. I like stuff flavor, strong flavor, but not that bitterness. So it's all right for me. I wouldn't pick it up again, but again, I'm not an IPA drinker. Yeah, that's it for this week. We'll catch you later.